Bobby, welcome back to, I believe this is just our second, maybe our third episode ever recording with On New Jersey Sports.
It is. I think it's like our second, and a lot's happened since the first one. It feels like we've been so busy that it's been like forever. So,
Yeah, the whole postseason went by, and I feel like, well, naturally we were both burned. So we just had to take a little step away for a little bit. Now we're back, and we have a lot to talk about.
oh yeah, there's been so much. Burned even more a little bit, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, there's so much that's gone on, and it's what are we almost like 2-3 months away, even though it's going to feel like forever from spring training. So.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, last year felt like an eternity because we didn't have October baseball. And then this year, it makes a huge difference when you make it all the way to the World Series. So that's one silver lining.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's like you said. It makes a huge difference. Obviously, it stinks. It kills us that they didn't wind up winning it all, but all the more closer. And this team isn't that far away. Even though some people may feel like they are, they all they got to do is make some adjustments, and we'll talk about it too. But yeah, it's certainly a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, and on that note, we're gonna dive into a lot of that tonight, talking about off-season moves. They've been reloading, retooling, making some big splashes in free agency and trades, gearing up for a championship run. So let's just dive right in and talk about what they've been up to, talk about what's left on the table, and kind of like where we're at now with the offseason as we move into a new year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the first thing, we won't talk about it long, right? But the first thing we got to talk about is Soto. So
yeah.
Obviously, I know, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but give me your first reaction of when that happened. Obviously, we, I know we both went on Twitter about it, but in your head, your first gut reaction and kind of how you felt in the days after it.
I felt very burned, very betrayed, to be honest. And I know like a lot of people are like, he didn't owe you anything. Like he went there on a trade. And there's truth to that, I guess. But I don't know. I just feel like you're playing and you're hitting in front of Aaron Judge. Like in my mind, I just thought there was no way we would ever lose him because I was like, why would you want to leave that? And like in my mind, it doesn't get any better than being a New York Yankee. Like, I'm sorry, but no little boy like wakes up and just like wants to be a Met when he grows up. So, you know what I mean? Like everybody wants to be a New York Yankee. But like in light of some new acquisitions we've gotten with guys who've always wanted to be a Yankee, I'm like, good riddance. So I think I went through all the stages of grief where I was just kind of like, I was shocked, felt betrayed, but then I was just pissed. And then now I'm like, I think that we're all seeing like the good in it. And maybe it's a blessing in disguise. But yeah, give me your reaction.
Yeah, I'm basically the same way in it. It's kind of almost like, I know I said this to you too, that it's like, it almost felt like you were it felt like I was getting broken up with when I was in high school again. Like it's something along the lines of, it's like, it's that one person who, it's like, all right, hypothetically, you think about it. It's something he always had said to us, he's going to test the market. He's going to go to the highest bidder. Obviously we wanted to think otherwise too, but I thought of it like, say, you meet someone and they're like, listen, I want to just have fun. I don't want to date. I don't want to do anything, but we're just having some fun, whatever. And then when something better comes, I'm going to leave. You hear that and you sign up for it, but when it actually happens, it's a gut punch. So that's how I kind of felt in that sense. It's kind of like, it stunk that he was gone. I knew like you said, he didn't know us anything. You just didn't want to think it was true. And then, it's kind of, it is over to the Mets. And yeah, look, as painful as a Yankee fan to say it, you feel good for them because obviously they got someone. As someone who is a Brooklyn Nets fan in basketball, this is kind of like, I can see like, that's how I felt when the Nets got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and the Knicks didn't. But
sure.
And it's painful. And then like you said too, I was upset, kind of accepting of it. That press conference just got me so riled up and I was very, that got me angry. And now it's like, look, it's done. He's gone. We're moving forward from it. And hopefully, hopefully they don't pivot like they did when they lost Cano, and hopefully these moves that they make are positive for them.
Yeah, I think too, like all the crap we've heard ever since, it's just like kind of like the slandering of the Yankee organization and security wronging his family, which I guess he came out today and said that that's not true. But in any event, I think all of that kind of helped me get over it and like more just into like, okay, like see you later, have fun over there. And now let's get to rebuilding, which the Yankees did. I mean, literally hit the ground running right after that. They pivoted quickly. And yeah, we're going to talk about all of that. So I'm really excited to dive into it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was kind of what we were looking for too, right? That first signing post losing him to kind of start getting the ball rolling and see. And, that's kind of what started moving us forward. And yeah, I mean, it happened. God, I don't even know. That was even a week later that they wound up pivoting. And obviously they brought in, the first person they brought in was Max Fried. And as someone who, in my head, look, I grew up an Andy Pettitte fan. I love, and because I was a lefty. Now, not nearly as tall as them, or as good, obviously. But looking at someone like Max Fried, and what he brings to the table, you're giving, he's one of those people who we were missing. Now, I understand the bullpen we were missing, swing and miss stuff, which we'll talk about that obviously later too.
Yeah.
But he's someone who he has, I believe, in the past couple of years, the lowest ERA out of any pitcher. And he's someone who we can trust. So you don't even blink at that 8-year deal with that, But yeah, I mean, obviously, as this postseason. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, so yeah, just you touched on it. Lowest ERA since 2020, 2.81. He's got a 54-25 record since then, and a 684 winning percentage, which is the second best in all of the majors in that time. So exciting stuff. Really excited to add him to the mix. He's a 2-time All-Star. He's a 4-time All-MLB team honoree, a 3-time Gold Glover, a World Series champion. So he knows what it takes to win it all. And drum roll, please, he's a Silver Slugger award winner in 2021. Like what? We have a what do they call Ohtani?
We
have a two-way player.
Yeah.
So if Stanton's out, you never know. Maybe we'll put Max in the DH spot on his off day. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
At this point, I would have taken him pinch hitting in the World Series instead of some of the people we brought up. So, who knows?
Oh gosh, yeah, I saw that and I was just like, hell yeah, like let's go. Sorry, I don't think I'm supposed to say that on ONNJ. But in any event, like I'm also just pumped that he wants to be here. Like, he had his introductory presser yesterday or the day before.
I think Perlinger was yesterday. He was there.
Yeah. Okay, so Wednesday this week. He says putting on the pinstripes comes with responsibility, and I'm ready for it. So we are ready for you, Max Fried. We are ready.
We are, yeah. I mean, he looked very businesslike too. I mean, coming in that suit and tie, just very like stern faced, and I mean, you love to see it. So I mean, and you love to see it with the left, like I said, with the lefties, and kind of what I mean. CC coming in at, he could obviously hit too. We're not going to see Max Fried swing the bat, but when it comes to like a power lefty arm like Max Fried with someone like Pettitte and CC who are going to be, I mean, I saw CC a few weeks ago. Obviously, he's going to go in if he goes in when he goes into the Hall of Fame. He's going to go in as a Yankee, but he always attributes he was a power pitcher like Fried, and later in his career, Pettitte taught him that cutter. So let's hopefully maybe later in Fried's Yankee career, in those like 7, 8 years, he gets to learn that cutter and becomes more of a finesse lefty.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. Well, while we're talking about the pitching staff, let's talk about Devin Williams, the Airbender, the 2020 National League Rookie of the Year and 2-time All-Star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's what we were saying, that swing and miss stuff at the back end of the bullpen that we were missing. I mean, obviously, Weaver kind of had that towards the end there too, but I mean, Williams is a proven guy. I mean, it seems right now, as long as he's not pitching to Pete Alonso, he's fine. I mean, that was just one pitch anyway. So, but hey, Pete Alonso could be a Yankee. We never know. But yeah, I mean, he's a power guy, someone who you want at the back end of your bullpen. It seems like from what I've seen, I haven't seen much of him because I haven't watched much of the Brewers. I mean, I've seen, no.
Yeah.
But from what I see, and I could be totally off, but from initial reactions, it looks like he's kind of like, he's like Chapman, but with more control and, not a jerk, if I can say it like nicely. So I mean, it's like, you know, he throws hard. He's going to come in. He's going to, you know, he'll blow some people away, and he's someone who hopefully will be able to trust. You know, shut the door on some games.
Yeah, he's got that airbender, they call it, the changeup, extremely effective, and then he's got his fastball in the mid 90s too. So I'm excited about him. He's coming off a really good year too, a 1.25 ERA, 14 saves, and 14.3 K per nine. So that's filthy. And it's like, I don't know. I guess that's our closer, right? I mean, I kind of want to see them just put Weaver back out there in the closer, but he's also the kind of guy that's just going to slot in wherever they need him. Like he's just going to do whatever they need him to do. So that 1-2 punch though is like filth.
It is, and we'll see Weaver close out some games too. If Williams throws has 2 saves in a row or pitches 2 days in a row, Weaver's the one you're going to trust to get in there and get those outs. Yeah. So it's not like he won't be there either. So it's definitely a good back end of the bullpen. Maybe they had another arm.
And reflecting on the just coming out of the postseason, like we relied so heavily on Weaver. So having him and knowing we've got that 1-2 punch, and hey, Jonathan Loaizaga, we got him back too. So that kind of like 7, 8, 9. I love that. I mean, as long as we can keep Lasagna healthy.
Yeah, I mean that's his big thing, right? I mean it's always been health with Loaizaga, and he's definitely somebody who is you have him in the 7th or him, even it depends on how they deploy them too. But if you go 7, 8, 9 with them in the postseason, it's definitely, we'll see how he bounces back, and I'm sure he will be fine. But definitely a lot better than what we were looking at going to the postseason last year, which they made it work. I mean, Tim Hill, if you'd have told me Tim Hill would be a reliable reliever for us, I would not have believed you. And he was something else for us. I mean, there were some revelations, and it's a credit to Matt Blake and what he does with that pitching.
Tim Hill, Jake Cousins, I mean, those guys were solid. So, we'll see. You never really know. Mm-hmm. Even like Leiter Jr. in the postseason, where he'd had like a really rough month of September, he came out and actually did really well in the postseason too. So.
Yeah, barring that one fielding play, that was the only thing. But other than that, he pitched unbelievably, and it's I know I'm such a pessimist when it comes to it. So I see him coming in, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. This is who we're relying on. And he stepped up, he delivered, and honestly, at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want people who aren't afraid of the big moment. He showed that he's ready for it, and definitely happy to have him. Especially him coming back. And if I'm not mistaken, don't we still have like Scott Efros, who wasn't even on, didn't pitch at all last year, but I don't know if he's still.
Yeah, I think we do, because he was technically, he was on the IL most of the year, and then he rehabbed, and I think he just never made it up. But I do believe we still have him. So we'll see what happens there. Speaking of Leiter Jr. though, and the fact that he is a legacy. Let's move on to our new acquisition, who's also a legacy, Cody Bellinger. He and his dad are just the 4th father and son to play for, not just, like that's actually a lot, the 4th father and son to play for the Yankees. So Cody Bellinger, we've acquired for just $5 million, we're getting just $5 million of his contract covered by the Cubs. In exchange for a righty, Cody Petite, which I'm a little bit sad about because I saw a really big future for that kid. But Cody Bellinger is a great acquisition. His versatility is going to be a huge asset to the Yankees. Having him and Oswaldo Cabrera, like with that much versatility between the two of them, like you can never go wrong with that kind of guy.
You can't, and obviously we've seen two sides of him too. We've seen there's the MVP Bellinger that we saw a few years ago. Then there's the one that fell off. I think it might have been 2 years back where he batted. I think might have been like 154 around there.
Yeah, at the end of his Dodgers tenure.
Yeah. So and that's the thing with him. Look, I mean, that those are probably the two outliers in it. Like, look, he had a great year and he was an MVP, phenomenal. But obviously throughout the span of his career, he's not as great as he was that season, but he's also certainly not as terrible as he was in that 154 season. I think he's a very good, solid player. Obviously, a Yankee Stadium, he's going to enjoy it. He wants to be a Yankee, which is big. I think didn't it come out too that that Boris kept telling Cashmere, he's like, please, just he keeps begging me to get him over to you.
I saw a tweet too the other day. This kid posted a picture of him, and he had ran into him in the airport last year, and he was like, have the Yankees called you yet? And Belgers was like, no, I wish. And he's like, I'm retweeting this because I'm not full of crap.
Right.
So yeah, like you love that. I love bringing in a guy who's always wanted to be a Yankee. And yeah, like you said, he's coming off of a bit of a resurgence. He was 2023 comeback player of the year. And he batted .307 with 26 home runs in 2023. He batted .266 with 18 this year and 78 RBIs over 130 games. So that's solid.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, with the way the way batting averages have been this year, last year especially, I think wasn't the league average like 247 or something like that. So it's crazy to think about that. That's league average, and someone batting in the 260s, 270s is considered, it is considered good now because you don't really see much of it with the way the analytics era has gone. But he's definitely somebody who obviously, I think he's going to thrive in Yankee Stadium and the versatility, like you said too. Now it's a matter of what his primary one is, and I think that's what's exciting about him is, he kind of like when they asked him about it, he's like, it's kind of depending on what else they do. If they go out and they sign a first baseman, if they sign an outfielder, or it could be Dominguez in outfield too. You never know what they do, but he provides so much flexibility, and his swing's going to be perfect for Yankee Stadium.
Yes, it is. I think he's going to thrive with the short porch, and also, like as you mentioned, the versatility and the flexibility. It also gives us the flexibility in who else we're going to go out and get. So, are we going to go out and get a corner infielder? Are we going to get a first baseman, or are we going to get an outfielder and then move Belly into the infield? Obviously, we still have Oswaldo Cabrera too, who can slot into one of those corner infield spots, and DJ maybe, but not preferable. But yeah, let's talk about some of those options. So now that we've acquired those three, which by the way, we've acquired all three of those for less than what we would have paid what Soto's making this next year. So
right, which is
not complain about that. I think they're cleaning house, and I love it. Cleaning house in terms of like picking up acquisitions. So what do you want to see them do next? Like, what do you think they're going to do next?
It's so, for me, it's just very, it's even hard for me to even say. I'm in the sense of like looking at everybody, and I'm just so like I talked about it. I wrote an article about it too. I'm just so nervous about doing a pivoting and finding that next Jacoby Ellsbury that we sign after this, and it kills us. Which, if I'm picking somebody who I'm afraid, who I kind of do want, even though I'm not a huge fan of him. Like I wasn't a fan of him, but I'm afraid it could be an Ellsbury. But I kind of. It's Bregman to me, who I think Bregman can be a solid third baseman for us for a while, and I like him. But he has, in my head at least, his floor or his basement is so much Ellsbury-esque that I don't know. I mean,
and Josh Donaldson-esque to me,
right?
And the age thing, and like what he's expecting on a contract, it's just like we can't. I mean, especially when you look at the big contracts we have now. I mean, we have a lot of years left on a lot of these guys. And I just think we can't tie ourselves down to another one.
Mm-hmm. We can't. And that's, like you mentioned Donaldson. To me, the biggest Donaldson move that they could do would be getting Arenado. And I'm like, please don't. No, I love Nolan Arenado, years ago. Just now, I'm like, that's such a Donaldson thing. Like, obviously,
he's
Arenado,
declining.
Yeah,
he's definitely declining.
And he's a much likable player than Donaldson. But that would be, and then first base. I would love Pete Alonso on this team. Now it depends on how long he wants the contract, how many years. If he wants a 3-4 year deal, which kind of keeps him through Judge's quote unquote prime, of those and like kind of the last few years that we have, with Cole, fine. I mean, you're gonna kind of say, okay, when that contract's up. And Judge is still going to be here, though, but they're going to start to go into decline. We're going to have to start to grab more other players. You're kind of doing it there. Now, that it depends. that's only for that. I don't know how much he wants. He's a Boris guy. That is that kind of is what kind of shakes me away from Pete if he wants more than that. I mean, I would love Paul Goldschmidt just on a 1 year, and then he would never do this. But 1 year, then a team option. He'd probably have to do a player option for him. But like a 1 year kind of prove it deal, because he's up there. He's not going to be here for more than a year or two, and he's declining. But maybe you get that. Maybe you milk that one last good season out of him. And if you're a team like the Yankees, who is currently favored to win the AL, then 1 year, if you get 1 year of a good Goldschmidt. Well, if it's 1 year of a good Goldschmidt, then and he leads you there, great. If he's not good, then it's 1 year, he's done. Whatever. It's not like you're committing too much.
Well, and you could always dish him off at the trade deadline too if it's on a 1 year deal.
Right. Exactly.
And it was just last year that he had did he have like the best batting average close to 2023? He had a really big year in 2023.
It was 2022. He had 317. It looks like.
Okay.
And I think, and that might at least again what I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
But what I like about him too is his swing. I mean, he's such a good opposite field hitter that he can just flick balls over over that short porch, like if if need be. So that's something that. And he's a leader, he's someone who this team, I mean, obviously we have Judge as a leader, but you need more leadership than him too. I mean, Jeter had Jorge to be one of his enforcers, I mean, CeCe was an enforcer and above himself, but CeCe was here with Jeter during those other years too. So, you have to have more than one person on there. Judge does his way of leadership, which is great. I know he's being criticized for not reaching out to Soto. That's probably just the way he is, but he's a good leader. People like him, people respect him, but you also need that other personality in there kind of too to fire people up, which I think they're missing.
And that's what I love about Rizzo. That's the biggest loss with Rizzo, I think. But I mean, I understand why we can't bring him back. It's just that leadership and just his knowledge is lacking.
Yeah. I mean, he was always, and he's one of what I loved about him. We talked about this too. Anytime there's a mound visit or not even anytime that Austin Wells would run out to the pitcher, Rizzo would be right there with him. And you need.
I'll tell you who could be that guy.
Yeah, he could.
Oswaldo Cabrera. No, I'll tell you. He is the ultimate cheerleader on the mound every single time. And honestly, I'm looking at these guys like Pete, Paul. I'm like, you never 1 year deal. I don't know if they're gonna make that splashing of a performance. And it's then you're looking at Nathaniel Lowe. His numbers don't really look any different than Oswaldo Cabrera, and he held. I mean, between him and Birdie, they did okay. And I'm not saying that's our go-to by any means, but I'm just if it's one of these guys versus him, I'm just well, then why not just roll that out and then see who you can get at the trade deadline?
Right. And to me too, if I'm thinking with Waldo, I would love for me just have Waldo be our third baseman if that's the case. I would put Jazz at second and then have Waldo. I mean, or you could flip flop, whatever. But I mean, I would rather Jazz at second anyway. But
Volpe, Volpe's coming into his third year now. It's leadership and just I don't know. It's going to come along.
It will, and we talked about this too with Volpe and with Austin Wells. They both, I mean, Austin Wells essentially more so is his best self when he's taking the ball the other way, when he's not afraid to take it the other way. He can bomb. He's a lefty. You can hit balls over the right field fence, but when he's taking balls the other way and he's hitting doubles in the left center field gap, that's when he's on his game. And Volpe's his best when he's not trying to kill the ball. I mean, he has the speed to leg out ground balls if he can. Or all he needs to do is it's almost like in the movie Major League. You can hit the ball on the ground, get on base. That's all we need you to do is get on and use his athleticism to steal bases and move runners in the scoring position. So
that's what we have to play, some good old fashioned small ball and just figure out how to play that. And honestly, last year, I feel we saw a lot more of that in Stanton and in Judge, and they're not always trying to kill the ball. And both of them hit a lot of doubles this year too. So. I'm excited about that, but I don't know. I'm just not particularly excited about any names being thrown out there to acquire for first base at this point.
Yeah.
Not any more excited than I am about, like just rolling out Waldo as an everyday player.
Right. I mean, you look at internally, you could do Waldo. There was Ben Rice. You don't know how he'll be. I mean,
Nice.
he came up great. I loved him as a catcher. Like, I think he should be Austin Wells' backup. I don't think they should go out and sign someone else. I think that I'm done. I love Jose Trevino as a person. He was a great catcher, but we need to move on.
I'm down with Trevi. Yeah, it's time to move on.
Right. And I know they've had Rice at first base, but Rice in the minors, when I was covering him 2 years ago for Somerset, he's a good catcher, and he has a cannon for an arm. I mean, it's unbelievable. And if you have him and Wells as your 1-2 at catching, that's unbelievable. And there's another like in-house option would be someone. Again, this is not names that we're gonna like Yankee fans are gonna be like, oh, like I love it. But if you don't want to sign one of these guys and you think, okay, we can maybe see what we have. Like TJ Rumfield had a good year. He's been a long time system guy for them. He's someone you could roll out there in spring training and see how he does. He's well deserving of a shot at least if they don't get anyone else. So
we have so much catching depth still. Like is Narvaez? Is that another guy that we've got?
I think did we just trade him?
Did we trade him?
I think it was him who we traded. Yeah, because there's so many of them. There's him. Anthony Siegler used to be a catcher who we had, and I know they tried him out in the minors. He was playing second base. He was playing left field. They were putting him everywhere. At one point, Somerset 2 years ago had 4 catchers in the game at the same time, just playing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But you love that kind of versatility. So we have options, and okay, so we've got Belly, so we could always move him to first base. Put Dominguez in left, move Judge back to center, and then you've got options if you wanted to bring in like Teoscar Hernandez or Santander, who are obviously not the greatest outfielders, but could slot into right field.
Right, and the funny thing about both of them is they both have killed the Yankees. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah, and you look at it because I remember hearing both names, talking about both of them at the beginning of the offseason and being like, man, I would love either one of them on our team. And you look at their numbers, and they're not. Look, they don't jump off the page. They're solid, both of them, but they both have their flaws. And it's like, this is what they do against the rest of the league. They just because against us, they're literally unbelievable.
I know.
Out of the two, I think I'd rather Teoscar, but I think he's destined to go back to LA. But we'll see how that is too. And and like you said too, you don't. You could even put Dominguez in center field if you want and move Judge back to right. You could have or flip him, or it's. As much as the Verdugo thing was great and then terrible at first, and then I feel like he kind of came back around in the postseason. He's not long for it. But yeah, there's so many different options, so many different ways they can go to, and that's what's exciting about it. What stinks is the MLB offseason is you're going to people, oh, well, after Christmas, we'll talk about it. Then it'll be, oh, after the new year. It's always something they're pushing it off, which is, you see it happen all the time. It's not as quick as like the NFL or the NBA, which is I thought it would be a few weeks ago, but but yeah, it's only a matter of time. I don't think we're going to get people waiting into spring training. I think Boris, learned from that last year, and the players who he represented learned from it. But yeah, it's really I think no matter what happens, if they have more moves in them, really quick. The one person who I think I would love to see them get, and they'd have to give away a lot for it, but Ketel Marte out in Arizona would be unbelievable for this team. Now you leave Jazz at third there, but he's under contract. He doesn't steal many bases, but he can hit. He is. You'd have to give up. I'm sure, like probably Spencer Jones or someone like that along that. And Spencer Jones is another person that we haven't talked about. He's still I'm sure he's still a year away. But
he's still an option. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But okay, that's the interesting thing is that in the Perlinger deal and like in the Williams deal, we haven't given up anybody. So we still have a lot of options so in my mind, like just because they're saying that they're going to look for a cheaper option for first base, to me, that does not mean that they don't have some kind of trade up their sleeve. To me, like, I don't know. We have a lot left to deal to trade with. So I think people should keep that into perspective.
Yeah. And you don't normally give out. It's like I feel like first base has become the running back position of the MLB. You don't give out long contracts to first baseman. Freddie Freeman's the best first baseman in the league, as we saw. Even hurt Freddie Freeman can lay out a triple. Healthy, I love Giancarlo, everything he did, but a healthy Giancarlo can't do that. But and playoff Giancarlo is unbelievable. But anyway, you're seeing the best first baseman in the game, have the contract that he has. So you don't want to that's the tricky thing with Pete, because Pete Alonso is not Freddie Freeman. And you don't want to shell out, God forbid, more or close to what he's getting for someone like that, because he could spark your team. Him, Judge and Stanton would be great, but is it more of what we have already? That kind of big power bat who's all or nothing. So you want to have a more well-rounded lineup, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, time will tell. I think we're going to hit a little bit of a speed bump here with the holidays right around the corner. We're 5 days away from Christmas. So speaking of that, I was going to ask you just a fun off the cuff question before we wrap things up here. If you were going to an ugly sweater party and you could take just fun drinking games, shenanigans, whatever, who in MLB would you take with you?
Oh man. So I was thinking about it, and now I don't know. For some reason, the first person to jump out, I think would be a fun time, would be Tommy Kahnle to go to a drinking. Tommy Kahnle would be wild to just have a few beers with and have a good time with. You look at someone like Oswaldo too, who'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would have to say Tommy Kahnle. I don't know what would happen. I don't know how that night would go, but it'd be a fun time. What about you?
Oh my gosh. It would be off. Yeah, it would be nuts. I thought about Tommy Kahnle too, but my initial thought was Austin Wells, because I think he would also be the life of the party. So yeah.
That would be true. Yeah. And the Yankee team, last year's Yankee team seemed like a fun team to hang out with. It seemed like they were having fun for the first time the 2017, they've had fun for a while. I guess we're so used to the business of the 2000s Yankees, but we're seeing so many people. I would love from the early or the 09 team. Nick Swisher would be someone fun to go.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely Kahnle. I don't know what would happen, but it'd just be it'd be one of those things where it's one night it happened. It's as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. So one of those big things.
Yeah, I love that answer. That's great. Well, that's a wrap for On Pinstripes. The Yankees offseason moves have set the stage for an exciting 2025 for sure. We can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to hit us up on social media with your thoughts on these moves. And let's keep the pinstripes alive until next time. And yeah, we'll see you back here soon.
Yeah. Happy holidays, and hopefully next time we come on, we're talking about whatever next big move they have, or we're saying whatever could go wrong with it. But either way, it'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Be sure to follow us on social media, and we'll see you guys next time.